Hello, my name is Jared Acosta. I am the Hardware Project Manager for the CSE Club at CSUSB, and welcome to today's Soldering Workshop. Alright, so let's just jump right in. For those of you who don't know what soldering is, it's really just the process of melting a metal alloy that we call solder onto two metallic joints in order to join them together. And since soldering has such a broad definition, it can really apply to a variety of different jobs, such as electricians use it, plumbers use it, mechanics use it for auto repair. And it's funny enough, something I learned while researching this workshop was that it's actually used in repairing jewelry and making stained glass mosaics, which is crazy. But today we'll just be focusing on circuit boards. But first, I just want to talk about the different tools that you'll need before you start to solder. And we'll start with the soldering station. It's usually comprised of a temperature control station, your actual soldering iron, and a tip cleaner to clean off the iron. And after that, we have the actual solder, which is a metal alloy that's usually made up of a mixture between lead and tin. The most commonly used mixture is 60% tin and 40% lead. Although I have heard that 63% tin and 37% lead is said to be the best solder to use, mainly because it has the lowest melting point out of that combination of an alloy. So that way you don't have to use as much power to heat up the soldering iron. But since this solder is comprised of lead, there's a lot of health concerns revolving around it. So there's a lot of restrictions when using it, especially in a commercial use. For instance, in any plumbing work that has to do with any piping that transports any drinking water, cooking water, or bathing water, it is illegal to use leaded solder in any of those pipes. So an alternative solder to use is lead-free solder, which is usually comprised of any combination of tin, copper, or silver. One of the downsides to using lead-free solder is that it requires higher temperature to actually melt, which can lower the life of your soldering iron and requiring you to clean it more often than usual. Another downside is that when you use leaded solder, it has a nice shine to it, but you could tell that oxidation is in the solder when it loses that shine. But when you use lead-free solder, it always looks dull, as if there's oxidation in there. So it's really hard to tell if there actually is metal oxides in the solder. If you do end up using lead-free solder, that's something to look out for. The next thing we're going to talk about is Flux, which is an acidic solution that removes the metal oxides on the metallic joint before you start soldering. And it will also prevent any more oxides from forming after the solder has dried. Flux is also important because it facilitates the flow of the solder, which makes soldering a lot more controlled and accurate and a lot easier. A lot of solder comes with flux embedded into the core of the wire, so that way you don't have to actually get a paste and apply it to the wire before you start soldering. That way you can just have the wire and just start soldering then. And the last thing I want to talk about is some additional tools to help you while you're soldering. They're not required, but they're useful. So the first thing is the helping hand. So basically they're just alligator clips that help you keep your project still and in place while you're soldering. That way you're not trying to keep a component in a specific place while trying to solder it in and risk burning your hands or anything like that. A lot of these helping hands come with a magnifying glass and LEDs to help you see what you're doing with smaller components. And finally, we have some tools that help you remove solder from any mistakes that you made. So if you look at the picture on the left, you'll see a desoldering pump, which is basically just a vacuum that sucks up any excess solder that you have. And on the right, you'll see a solder wick, which works by placing the wick on top of the solder that you want to remove and then pressing the iron on top of that, and the heat will actually suck up the solder into the wick. So now we're actually going to start talking about soldering. So the first thing you want to do is to take your soldering iron and set it to a temperature between 330 degrees Celsius and 350 degrees Celsius, or 600 degrees Fahrenheit and 700 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you're going to want to take your soldering iron and place it against the soldering ring and the component that you want to solder. And then after a few seconds of heating it up, you'll place the solder on the ring or the component that's being heated up, not on the soldering iron, not on the soldering iron. You keep it there for like maybe a second or two, and then you wait for it to cool off, and you're done. And as you can see from the bottom row of pictures, they give examples of different kinds of mistakes that you can make. So just a reminder to be careful while you're doing this. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a sample circuit that I made using a photoresistor. The purpose of the circuit is to have an LED turn on and off based on how much light is in the room. So the first thing I did was that I set the resistor and the photoresistor into the PCB first, and then I bent the wires so that it could stay in place while I soldered them into place. Next, I took the LED and I did the exact same thing. I set it up into the PCB and I bent the wires so that I could set it in place while I soldered it. Next, I had to find a way to power the circuit, so I decided to use some stacking headers so that way I could hook up a female to male jumper wire to an Arduino and power it from that. And finally, the last thing I had to do was solder some jumper wire to each of the joints. That way I could complete a full circuit. And this is the final product. Thank you for coming to the soldering workshop, and I hope that you all have a great day.